very good evening and welcome to the news at 6, where we get you the day's top developing stories. Monday evening, lots making news. Let's get you the headlines first. Rajya Sabha mourns the passing away of former Union Minister Anil Madhav Dave and Congress member P. Govardhan Reddy. Both houses of parliament take up obituary references. Tributes paid to Lok Sabha MP from Gurdaspur Vinod Khanna. Polling to elect the 14th President of India ends. Votes cast across 32 polling stations to decide the contest between former Bihar Governor Ramnath Kovind and former Lok Sabha Speaker Meera Kumar. BJP Parliamentary Board to pick the ruling NDA's vice presidential candidate today. Tuesday will be the last day to file nominations for the election on the 5th of August. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi thanks all parties for their support in rolling out GST, highlights the significance of monsoon session as the country celebrates 70 years of independence and the nation elects a new president and vice president. Voting for the presidential election has ended. NDA's nominee Ramnath Kovind is in a tight and in fact a straight fight with the opposition's Meera Kumar in what is being called a Dalit versus Dalit contest. The results will be announced on the 20th of July. Paper ballots were used in the presidential election and special arrangements were made at Parliament House and state assemblies for the polling.
Voting to elect the next President of India ended at 5 p.m. on Monday, with MPs and MLAs casting their ballots in their respective state assemblies. NDA nominee Ramnath Kovind is pitted against opposition candidate Meera Kumar for the post. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Amit Shah were among the first to cast their votes in Parliament. Congress President Sonia Gandhi, Vice President Rahul Gandhi and party's Chief Whip in Lok Sabha, Jyotir Aditya Scindia, also cast their votes. While NDA candidate Ramnath Kovind is expected to win with a comfortable margin, the opposition said its joint pick Meera Kumar was the best choice.
मुझे पूरा विश्वास है कि आत्मा की आवाज सुनी जाएगी, क्योंकि इससे पवित्र और इससे शक्तिशाली और कुछ नहीं है और देश के हित में, देश के भविष्य के लिए निर्णय लिया जाएगा.
I am sure Ramnath Kovind ji will win with a comfortable, respectable margin.
It is between two ideologies. So the President of India is occupying such a position who has to safeguard the interest of the entire nation.
सब एमपी के ऊपर और सब एमएलए के ऊपर अपनी अंतरात्मा के आधार पर, अपनी कॉन्शियंस के आधार पर वोट डालें.
While the Trinamool Congress is backing Meera Kumar, its Tripura unit, however, decided to back Ramnath Kovind. With both Kovind and Kumar belonging to the Dalit community, BSP Chief Mayawati expressed satisfaction that a Dalit leader would occupy the highest office.
जीत हार एक अलग चीज है, लेकिन अच्छी बात यह है कि दोनों में से कोई भी जीते, लेकिन खुशी की बात यह है कि सुल कास्ट का आदमी तो देश का राष्ट्रपति बनेगा.
हमारी आशा यही रहेगी कि अच्छे व्यक्ति जो इस पद की गरिमा को रख सकते हैं, संविधान की रक्षा कर सकते हैं, वो जीते. और इसमें कोई अब क्योंकि राष्ट्रपति का चुनाव है, अब अन्य कोई राजनीति वोटिंग के बाद न देखी जाए.
In Bihar, Chief Minister Nitish Kumar led JDU is supporting NDA candidate Ramnath Kovind, while senior partner of the Grand Alliance RJD is backing opposition candidate Meera Kumar. After casting his vote, Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath said he was confident of Kovind winning by a huge margin.
एनडीए के प्रत्याशी श्री रामनाथ कोविंद जी भारी बहुमत से चुनाव जीतेंगे, इसमें कोई संदेह नहीं है. उत्तर प्रदेश का ये सौभाग्य है कि पहली बार उत्तर प्रदेश को राष्ट्रपति देने का अवसर प्राप्त हो रहा है.
हमारी पार्टी ने रामनाथ कोविंद का समर्थन किया है और वो आज विजयी होंगे, ऐसा हम मान के चलते हैं.
Counting of the votes will be on Thursday. The term of President Mukherjee ends on the 24th of this month. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Meanwhile, the 243rd session of Rajya Sabha commenced on Monday. The upper house, however, was adjourned for the day as a mark of respect to departed sitting members Anil Madhav Dave and P. Govardhan Reddy.
Honourable members, I refer with profound sorrow to the passing away.
Rajya Sabha condoled the death of former Union Environment Minister Anil Madhav Dave. Chairman Muhammad Hamid Ansari noted that Dave was a social worker who strove for conservation of the Narmada River. He represented Madhya Pradesh in the upper house for 3 terms, from August 2009 to January 2010, June 2010 to June 2016, and from June 2016 till his demise.
A social worker, Shri Dave worked assiduously for the conservation of river Narmada and its catchment area through Narmada Samagra, an organization founded by him for the conservation of rivers and for addressing climate change and environmental issues.
The House also bemoaned the demise of veteran Congress leader Palwai Govardhan Reddy, who represented Andhra Pradesh in Rajya Sabha from April 2012 to June 2014 and Telangana from June 2014 till his demise.
In the passing away of Shri Palwai Govardhan Reddy, the country has lost a distinguished parliamentarian and a dedicated social worker.
Environment Minister Anil Dave passed away on May 18th at the age of 60. Dave had been unwell since suffering from pneumonia, while Palwai Govardhan Reddy died of a heart attack in Kullu in Himachal Pradesh on June 9th. Kriti Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
The upper house also mourned the death of 6 former members. These former members expired in the intervening period between the last and the current session.
The upper house paid homage to former members on Monday. Former member Akhilesh Dasgupta, an educationist, businessman and sports administrator, died on April 12th at the age of 56. Former minister and Telugu film personality Dasari Narayana Rao passed away on May 30th at the age of 70.
Born in March 1961 at Lucknow in Uttar Pradesh, Dr. Gupta was educated at the Allahabad, Lucknow and Agra universities. An educationist, businessman and a sports administrator, he was associated with several educational institutions and made significant contributions in the field of higher education.
While former member P.N. Sukul died on May 20th at the age of 85, former member Era Serian died on June 6th at the age of 94. Nominated member C. Narayana Reddy died on June 12th at the age of 85 and UK Lakshmana Gowda died on July 7th.
Shri Serian started his career as a journalist and was editor of Tamil dailies Nam Nadu, Manram and Makkal Arasu. He served as the president of South Zone Insurance Employees Federation and was a member of the National Integration Council and Indian Council of World Affairs. He has several books of short stories, one-act plays, drama and articles on political, economic and social subjects to his credit.
The House observed silence as a mark of respect in the memory of sitting and former members.
Who lost their lives in these
Kriti Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
In other news, Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed the media ahead of the monsoon session and he hoped that political parties would engage in high standard of debate and provide value addition during this session.
Before the monsoon session began, Prime Minister Narendra Modi thanked all parties for their support in rolling out GST. He said that he hoped that the growing stronger together spirit of GST would bring enthusiasm to Parliament proceedings. The Prime Minister also said that the passage of GST showed that good can be achieved when all parties come together and work for the nation.
Growing stronger together. ये जीएसटी स्पिरिट का दूसरा नाम है. ये सत्र भी उस जीएसटी स्पिरिट के साथ आगे बढ़े. इस सत्र अनेक रूप से महत्वपूर्ण है कि सभी राजनीतिक दल, सभी माननीय सांसदगण राष्ट्रहित के महत्वपूर्ण फैसले लेकर के उत्तम स्तर की चर्चा करके हर विचार में वैल्यू एडिशन करने का प्रयास, हर व्यवस्था में वैल्यू एडिशन का प्रयास हम सब मिलकर के करेंगे, ऐसा मेरा पूरा विश्वास है।
The Prime Minister also called the monsoon session a very significant one as the country will celebrate 70 years of independence during this time and also elect a new president and vice president.
15 अगस्त को आजादी के 7 दशक की यात्रा हम पूर्ण कर रहे हैं। 9 अगस्त को सत्र के दरमियान ही अगस्त क्रांति के 75 साल हो रहे हैं। एक प्रकार से राष्ट्र जीवन के अत्यंत महत्वपूर्ण घटनाओं से भरा हुआ ये कालखंड है और इसलिए स्वाभाविक है कि देशवासियों का ध्यान हमेशा की तरह इस मॉनसून सत्र पर विशेष रहेगा।
The session, which began on Monday, will conclude on August 11th after 20 sittings. However, the government won't have it easy, with the opposition expected to corner it on issues including the Dokula standoff in Sikkim with China, violence in Darjeeling, situation in Jammu and Kashmir, demonetization and GST. Pancharan Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
The BJP Parliamentary Board is meeting in New Delhi to pick the ruling NDA's vice presidential candidate. This comes days after the opposition announced Gopal Krishna Gandhi as its candidate. There is speculation that the party may pick a candidate from a region where it has been traditionally weak in order to send out a positive message. Party chief Amit Shah has identified states like Kerala, Telangana and West Bengal as the new growth regions for the party. The election for the vice president is scheduled for the 5th of August. 18th of July, the last date for filing of nominations. The Electoral College for the election consists of 790 MPs of the 2 chambers of parliament. The ruling bloc enjoys an overwhelming majority in the Electoral College, and BJP has expressed confidence about garnering anywhere between 500 to 550 votes. Our correspondent Pranav Goswami is tracking those developments, joining us on the phone line now from the BJP's office. Pranav, any indication as to who that name is going to be?
There are many names, but nobody is very sure that who is going to be the vice presidential candidate from NDA. There are names like Venkaiah Naidu, a very senior leader from BJP, and is been the party president also. There are other names also like Vidyasagar Rao, who is currently governor of Maharashtra. There are rumors that BJP will field a person from South India, because we know that BJP is already made it sure that Ramnath Kovind, who is BJP's presidential candidate, he belongs to North India and he belongs to Dalit community. At this time, we all know that BJP's existence in South is very less. So there are indications that BJP can feel somebody who
from the South
is from.
All right. So the names, of course, doing the rounds there, and one of them, of course, Venkaiah Naidu. We'll have to wait and see with that. But Pranav, any reason that the BJP has given as to why they haven't come out with a name so far? Because as far as the presidential poll is concerned, they came out with Ramnath Kovind's name much ahead. Why the delay?
There are many reasons, but nobody is sure that what is the reason. Because BJP wanted that opposition party, they should first come up with their name, and we know that UP is already declared their vice presidential candidate Gopal Krishna Gandhi. So now BJP was waiting for UPA's stand on vice presidential candidate. Now, because tomorrow is the last date of filing nomination for vice president. So after this parliamentary board meeting, which is going on, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi has already arrived here, we are expecting that in next few minutes there will be official press conference from BJP, and the decision on vice presidential candidate will be the decision. The vice president from BJP will announce the name formally.
All right, we'll leave it there for now. Pranav, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll come back to you, of course, for more details from that meeting and, of course, when eventually that press conference eventually does happen. Meanwhile, in other news, an army Jawan was martyred while a girl was killed on Monday morning in Pakistani shelling along the LOC in Poonch district of Jammu and Kashmir. The Pakistan Army resorted to mortar shelling and firing, targeting forward defense locations and civilian areas. The shelling prompted an effective retaliation from the Indian troops. Naik Mudassar Ahmed was grievously injured in the fire exchange and succumbed to his injuries. 37-year-old Ahmed of Kashmir's Duchu is survived by a wife and 2 children. A 9-year-old girl was also killed by Pakistan's shelling in Baroti. Following the ceasefire violation, Director General of Military Operations, Lieutenant General A.K. Bhatt, spoke over the phone to his Pakistani counterpart and conveyed that India reserves the right to retaliate to any cross-border firing along the LOC. The 2 DGMOs also deliberated on the situation along the LOC in Jammu and Kashmir.
कंडीशन काफ़ी सीरियस है। हमने अभी स्कूल्स भी सभी इस इलाके में मजाकुर तहसील में सभी बंद किए हैं और अभी आर्मी के साथ भी कोऑर्डिनेशन में है, पुलिस और सिक्योरिटी एजेंसीज से भी फीडबैक लेके जहां लोगों को इवैक्यूएट करने की ज़रूरत है, शिफ्ट करने की ज़रूरत है, उनको कैंप्स में लाया जाएगा।
Days after exposing alleged preferential treatment to V.K. Sasikala in prison in a report, the Karnataka government transferred DG Prisons, D. Rupa, today. DGP Prisons H.N. Satyanarayana Rao, who was accused by Rupa of accepting a bribe to favor Sasikala, was also transferred. In a report last week, D. Rupa claimed that Sasikala was provided an exclusive kitchen to cook her meals and relax visiting hours in exchange for a 2 crore rupees bribe to jail officials. Rupa was posted as Deputy Inspector General of Police and Commissioner for Traffic and Road Safety in Bengaluru. And here are more updates from across the country in Nationwide. The Malabar Naval Exercise 2017, jointly undertaken by the Indian, US and Japanese navies, ended today. The exercise that started in the Bay of Bengal on the 10th of July was aimed at achieving deeper military ties between the 3 nations. It covered activities like combined carrier strike group operations, maritime patrol and reconnaissance operations. 16 ships and 95 aircraft took part in the exercise. Foreign Minister Sushma Swaraj met family members of 39 Indian citizens missing in Iraq since 2014. The Indians were abducted by the Islamic State terrorists from the Iraqi city of Mosul in June 2014. Swaraj said that Iraqi intelligence authorities said that the men could be in a prison in Badush, which is still under Islamic State control. Mumbai citizens faced heavy rainfall that triggered traffic snarls on many roads. The Kolaba weather station recorded 64.2 millimeters of rain, while Santa Cruz weather station recorded 46 millimeters of rain. According to the weather department, the Konkan coast, including Mumbai and Pune, recorded heavy overnight rains. Thane too witnessed heavy rains since morning. The Pakistani Army on Sunday said that their Chief of Staff will take the last call on the fate of Kulbhushan Jadhav, the Indian national who is under a death sentence there. Pakistan Army said that its Chief General Qamar Javed Bajwa was analysing evidence against Jadhav and will decide his appeal on merit. It said that Jadhav's clemency was rejected by a military appellate court and that the final decision rests with the Chief of Army Staff. Jadhav was sentenced to death by a Pakistan military court in April for his alleged involvement in espionage and terrorist activities. Pakistan says Jadhav filed a mercy petition before General Bajwa in June after the military appellate court rejected his appeal. The International Court of Justice in The Hague had halted Jadhav's execution on India's appeal. The ICJ has asked India to make its submission in the case by 13th of September and Pakistan to complete its submission by 13th of December. Islamabad has dismissed New Delhi's consular access requests as well as that of his mother to Jadhav more than 15 times. India has accused Pakistan of repeatedly violating the Vienna Convention.
I am not too sure whether he put up an appeal in front of the appellate court, but they say the appeal was and it was rejected. The appellate court has no option but to reject the appeal because the final case of his was prejudged by the Pakistani Chief of the Army Staff. In other words, he's hand and glove in the entire episode.
Army Chief General Qamar Bajwa is going to, consider his case, whatever may be. India had appealed to ICJ, and both teams are going to meet in ICJ once more to look into this matter, and it now depends upon the ICJ.
Now, over the past few years, there have been several reports of Islamic State leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi being killed, but each time there has been no confirmation. In June, Russia claimed that al-Baghdadi had been killed in an airstrike by its forces, and this was followed by what appeared to be a statement from the Islamic State confirming his death. But now, a top Kurdish counterterrorism official says the IS leader is definitely alive.
Just a month after the Russian Defense Ministry claimed that Islamic State leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi had been killed in its airstrike, the confusion over his death continues. Now, a top Kurdish counterterrorism official has said he was 99% sure that the Islamic State leader was alive and, in fact, living south of the Syrian city of Raqqa. Lahore Talabani reminded everyone that al-Baghdadi's roots go back to the Al-Qaeda and he knew what he was doing. Talabani claims al-Baghdadi has been hiding from security forces quite well. The US has refuted reports of his death, saying it does not have concrete information about the Islamic State leader's death.
Finally, there's been a lot of media interest in the whereabouts and status of ISIS leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. Despite all the helpful reports to us from every source imaginable, I'm unable to confirm or deny where he is or whether he is alive or dead. Let me just say for the record, my fervent hope is it is the latter.
Iraqi security forces recently ended 3 years of Islamic State rule in the city of Mosul, and the group is under growing pressure to do the same in Raqqa, the only remaining stronghold of the terrorist organization's self-proclaimed caliphate.
It'd make me feel better to know that he was dead. I suppose it probably doesn't really matter. If no one knows if he's alive or dead, someone is guiding ISIS, the organization. And what we've seen with all these paramount leaders is you take them out and someone else steps up. So if he is dead, that means someone's running ISIS, and I think that they're trying to keep his death quiet for their own morale.
The Syrian Observatory of Human Rights also recently confirmed that al-Baghdadi has died, but as the US general says, it will take a lot more for the organization to die. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
A woman has been shot dead on Sunday while waiting to vote in an unofficial referendum in Venezuela's capital, Caracas. Men on motorbikes fired at a queue, killing her and wounding 3 others. The opposition, however, blamed a paramilitary gang. Video from the scene shows people rushing away from the gunshots. Venezuela is in crisis and more than 100 people have died in political clashes since April. Opposition spokesperson Carlos Ocares expressed grief over the attack. Prosecutors, meanwhile, said that they would investigate the incident. The woman was named as Xiomara Soledad Scott, and she died minutes after reaching the hospital. And now let's take you through some more international news updates in Global Buzz. A US Secret Service refuted statements from President Donald Trump's personal lawyer that it had vetted a meeting between the president's son and Russian nationals during the 2016 campaign. Trump Jr. acknowledged that he did meet a Russian lawyer after he was told that she might have damaging information about his father's rival, Democrat Hillary Clinton. A Jordanian military court sentenced a soldier to life imprisonment with hard labor for killing 3 US military trainers at a major air base last year. Sources said that the soldier pleaded not guilty to a charge of premeditated murder. The incident in November led to tensions between Washington and its Middle Eastern ally. The legal team of Pakistan Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif dismissed probe panel's final report as illegal and biased. It recommended filing a graft case against him and his children as the Supreme Court resumed hearing of the Panama Gate graft case. South Korea proposed military and family reunion talks with North Korea to halt hostile activities near their joint border and after a series of missile tests by the North in recent weeks. The requests comprise the first formal overture by the government of President Moon Jae-in, who came to power in May and pledged to engage the North in dialogue. That's all we have for you in the news at 6. Thanks for joining us.